professionally, I got laid off. And so the timing kind of worked out for my desire to go to Vietnam and then explore. And then just by watching other YouTubers and travelers, it made me think, I wonder if I could do that.
So you're in this position where I think you mentioned you're 55?
Yes.
You look great, by the way.
You're too kind.
You look like a late-age teenager. Doesn't he? You're not retirement age in the U.S. yet.
No.
And so there are people like that want to retire early.
Sure.
So what would be interesting is so as a U.S. citizen who comes here and wants to live whatever level of life you want to live, what when you're sitting down thinking, if I can't retire for a number of years, maybe 10 or whatever age you would take Social Security at, what's like a number per year that you would want to have stashed away if you were just living off savings, if you were going to live in Vietnam, or maybe a range?
That's a good question.
Because there are people that do that. They want to cut off early before their check comes in, Social Security, and they want to know how much per year it is.
Certainly, and it varies.
Yeah,
in my particular situation, I have some investments and I have savings and stuff like that, so I can draw from that until my YouTube channel grows enough so I can earn income from that to sustain the type of lifestyle I want here.
Right.
But in some circles, when you don't have enough savings or you don't have enough investments or what have you, then you need to earn some type of income.
Right.
And I think it varies from people to people. Hard to say. The average Vietnamese person makes about 15 million. That's in Saigon, actually. Here in Da Nang, it's about 11 to 12 million VND, which is about $420 a month, give or take.
Right.
And so that's the average person. Obviously, as a American citizen, I'm not able to live the way like a local lives,
Sure.
even though I speak Vietnamese.
Yeah, of course.
And so mine's going to be a little more expensive, probably somewhere in the range of 25 to 35 million a month,
right?
Which could be around 700 to 900, give or take, depending on how you want to live. And obviously, you and I both know people that live off of 3,000 a month who live much lavishly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so I think it varies, but getting your finances in order, I can't stress that enough as the number one thing to prepare for and to just have those ducks in a row, as opposed to some of the other things like safety or medical needs or dating or food or what have you.
Yeah,
those are all important, but financially is the most important.
All the problems in the world, practically, not all of them, but it can be solved with money. So if you have that handled, the other problems you'll be able to tackle pretty easily.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, good point.
That's great. And thanks for the range. That's perfect, because everybody has to come over and find out with their feet on the ground what their lifestyle costs. But that range lets them know whether or not they're in the game. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah, which is nice.
I think you're right. And then it tells them, hey, do I need to maybe build that up more, or do I need to find some type of revenue stream or income to help facilitate that type of lifestyle?
Yeah, so we'll get to your channel in a moment. I'll ask you about it. But so is your channel about finance, or what is?
My channel is about travel. It's about overseas living, using geo arbitrage, behavioral economics. Why do we do the things we do, and associate that with travel and learning different cultures and experiences.
Sounds really cool.
Okay, so I am from the U.S. Grew up in mostly New Orleans, and as an adult in Charlotte, North Carolina. And we are sitting in Da Nang, Vietnam. I am a Vietnamese American, so I came over when I was 5 years old.
So you mentioned in an email to me that you're going to have a base camp here, and you're going to travel to other countries. What countries do you have in mind?
So some of the countries I want to travel that I haven't is going to be Laos. I really like Siem Reap, Cambodia. I want to do Chiang Mai, Thailand. I've been to Bangkok. Hua Hin in Thailand intrigues me. Definitely your series on the Philippines is just gorgeous, and so that interests me, with Cebu being probably the first landing spot. And then from there, trying to see what else is available. Bacolod, Palawan, what have you, Baguio. So some of the stuff, some of the places that you visited.
So how do you see it time-wise? Do you think, well, I'll spend 9 months of the year in Da Nang and 3 of traveling? What are your thoughts about the mix?
That's a great question. I don't know if I've gotten that far in terms of that, but I want to. I can't do slow travel like I did before, which is what I was doing. Now that I have the home base, I think it's easier for me to situate myself in Da Nang. But I do want to do probably maybe 3 countries a year.
You know, being from the U.S., when we fly somewhere, even in our own country, it might take hours. You know, to fly across the country could take 7, 8 hours. Give it people an idea, like how close are these countries? What does it cost you to fly to Bangkok?
I laugh because it's kind of ridiculous. It's really not fair. I think we understand it from an intellectual point of view, like we understand dollars and cents. But when you're actually spending those dollars to travel to a different country, it's really mind-boggling how cheap things are. Depending on how much notice you book a flight, you can imagine going from one country to another for just maybe $50 USD. Yeah. Or perhaps your last minute, which I've done many last minute flights, and they generally cost me $100. Yeah. And we're talking about within 48 hours of the trip.
Right.
And it'll be $100 USD. And it's just kind of insane. The flights could be, I don't know, maybe an hour long, 45 minutes, depending where you're going, to maybe 2 or 3 hours long. But the cost is just, it's really ridiculous because we can't really find something like that in the U.S. except if you're going Spirit Airlines, booked a month in advance, and you're going from Florida, I don't know, to Orlando to Atlanta, Georgia, something like that.
Yeah, just a little hop.
Yeah, a little hop.
Yeah, that makes sense. How does that feel different to you now, being here versus in the U.S.?
At least for me, and I didn't really prepare for this. I'm even in the U.S. There are stressors that can, but I'm a fairly grateful person with the things that I do have. So I'm able to deal with some of those stresses in the U.S. But here, even though I still have those stresses, it just seems to fall off your shoulders because everything is cheaper, it's beautiful, it's nicer. You just able to absorb that and let go of some of the other concerns that you might have. And it's kind of organic because you're not like mentally preparing yourself like I'm coming to X country to not have stress. It just kind of happens.
Yeah.
You know mentally and you know logically that you're going to have less stress, but to experience it is a totally different way of life. It's just your shoulders, you just have more pep in your walk. You smile more. You enjoy things more. I'm always surprised and not surprised at the same time. I shake my head. I was like, I can't believe this cost me $2, you know, and it's huge and it's delicious. And so I think about those things. And so I experienced it hundreds of times, thousands maybe, even the dishes that cost that. Yeah. But every now and then I'm still like shaking my head. Last night I had a delicious burger. It was $3.
Wow,
and it's just like one of those real burger type places, and I was shaking my head with that.
What would that be in the U.S.? That same level?
Oh my gosh, it's the high level burger you might find we're not talking about Burger King or McDonald's. We're talking about a beef joint or a place that specializes in that. I'd say anywhere on the minimum, I don't know, $16, and on the maximum, I don't know, 30, depending on what city you're from. Yeah.
And I lose touch with a lot of that since I've been gone so long and I only visit now.
Gotcha.
Some of these numbers, I just blow my mind when I hear about them.
It's gone up. Outside of finances, people think about safety, in my opinion, and people maybe would not go to a certain country if they deem it to be unsafe.
Yeah.
In my experience in Southeast Asia, every place that I've been to has been safe. Yeah. Now, granted, when I first came back to Vietnam, I remember, not first, but one of my earlier trips, it was 2019, I was with my uncle and we had to go to an Airbnb through this dark alley, and with the flight situation, we get there at 1 a.m.
Right.
So I'm walking down this dark alley.
Saigon?
This is Saigon,
okay,
yeah. I'm walking down this dark alley to my Airbnb and I'm like, this is not cool. This is not, I'm dragging my luggage and my uncle's with me, who's older, and I feel responsible. You know, like I can run, he can't if something happens, right? And so, but after being here so long, dark alleys in Vietnam has no bearing on the safety. You are safe in dark alleys in Vietnam, very, very safe. Yeah. So no. And I've spoken to many single women that are here in Vietnam and throughout much of Southeast Asia. They feel very safe as well.
Yeah. You speak Vietnamese.
Yes.
Most of the expats we meet here, they're trying to hack away with Google Translate. And do you feel like there's some advantage to that? That obviously there should be some advantage.
Certainly.
Just the way you can move through the culture, right? But you also have the locals, I'm sure when they speak to you, they understand that you're probably an American or an foreigner,
certainly.
right?
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
And so what's the difference there when you meet them? Do you feel like you're being charged a little more because they know you're American, or because I don't feel like I'm being charged more for anything here. It feels. Do you feel that? Yeah. So what are your thoughts about that?
I think there's pros and cons for both.
Okay.
And when we say the traditional American, we'll just say the European, Caucasian, or non-Asian looking foreigner, okay,
Right.
in terms of that. I think from that perspective, their experience is going to be a little different from mine in the sense of when we talk about getting charged. I could see them getting charged more.
Yeah.
I certainly see that in the market or what have you. But I think from that perspective also, it doesn't seem like it's charged more enough. Or let's say, for example, you might get charged $25,000 a kilo for some dragon fruit, and maybe it was $20,000 because it's later during the afternoon. Because there's a tendency for them to sell it at a higher cost in the morning time, just because the produce is better, and so a lot of people pick that. And towards the afternoon, they're more desperate to sell it in the afternoon. So instead of selling you for 20,000 VND, they might continue to sell for 25,000. And the 5,000 VND difference is what, about, I don't know,
20 cents?
10, 20 cents, 18 cents, give or take.
18 cents.
Yeah. Since our dollar has gone up substantially.
So it really doesn't make much of a difference that I can tell. We just really feel like the value is so good.
I agree. Yeah, the value is so good. That part is not as much of a difference. There could also be something where they might treat you better, possibly because you're a foreigner and stuff like maybe at a restaurant. Maybe if you're asking for something, you'll get the reception might be better or faster depending on the restaurant, as opposed to if you're a local Vietnamese person, they might make you wait a little longer. And I've heard this before too, and I haven't experienced it, but locals jokingly and with some jokes, there's some realism, right? That's why it's funny, because there's some realistic opinions that go into that, or realistic interactions. Like if you lose your phone, that you're more than likely you'll have the authorities look for your phone. If a local loses his phone, that's it. Forget about it. No authority is going to help him. But you, because you're a foreigner, they don't want you to give them bad press, or you don't have a developed bad opinion. You spread that to other people, and so they'll be more inclined to help you and navigate that.
And there's some of that all over the world, I think.
Sure.
It seems in some respects there's a benefit to being an expat, that appears to be European or whatever. We see that, and that's sometimes I'm embarrassed by it. Like I remember when I first went to India, I was working. I had a job there, and so the boss of the company said, "Let's go to lunch." And there's like 300 people working there, and so we go to the cafeteria line, and in America we're always worried about queuing, like, are you in front of me? Are you, this kind of thing. And he's like waltzes like past the back of the line. I'm like, line's here, and he's like, oh no, you're a guest in our country. Kind of, you have to come to the front of the line. And I'm like, I'm really uncomfortable with this. Can we just stay back here? And so it took me a while to be able to convince him that I wanted to be wanted to be, and I didn't want to be treated that way. But you also have to be cognizant of that culture. If that culture wants to treat you a certain way and you're giving them trouble about it, it can go both ways. So
yeah, you're right. Like food is a big example, and they're inviting you to eat food with them.
Yeah, of course.
You may have to eat that dish, and I don't know if you've experienced this in Vietnam a lot, but they have a tendency to put food into your bowl, even if you say, no, I'm good, I'm full. Just because that's how they show that they love, they care with food and drink.
Yeah, that's another thing you see all over the world. That's a very Italian thing too.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Eat more, you're too skinny.
Yeah, it's Italian grandmothers.
Or Irish grandmother.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, the world, there's a lot of similarities around the world.
Oh, I forgot, in terms of what you were saying about what my interaction is. So we talked about what an American or what a Western might experience. For me, as somebody, I do get a different experience because I understand the language.
Right.
So it's different. So it just allows me to communicate better. That doesn't mean that I don't get scammed or I don't have those things don't exist for me. Probably to a lesser degree if we're talking about scams, but they still exist. Yeah. That being said, locals scam locals. So it's not, it's just that the local can kind of avoid those scams more than a Westerner because they're just aware of it, that's all.
In sports, they say the home team has an advantage, right? It's home team advantage, right? Because it's your streets. You know it. You know what it's supposed to cost and what's going on. So I think I totally get what you mean there. So that's great.
Yeah, and they pick up, most of the time they pick up that, oh no, he's a foreigner. Like within a few seconds, and depending on how much I say, if I'm saying 2 or 3 words, they might not pick up. They might still think I'm a local, but I'm having like a 30-second conversation with them. They'll, oh yeah, he's not from here. They can pick up the accent. I think the ability to adapt is extremely important, and it's not talked about enough. Darwin talks about the survival of the fittest, and we talk about that. We think it's about strength. It's less about strength, it's about adaptability. Yeah. If you can't adapt to a different culture, a different experience, different way of life, if you are rigid in your thinking and how you believe the world to be, because we all are, right? Yeah. Our experiences, our culture, our families, what we eat, what we do, and how we move in the world, we believe that to be correct. Or the right way. And so when we experience something much different, we bump heads into that. And so if you can't adapt to the different cultures, I think, that being said, you may not have exercised that muscle. And so on the one hand, you know that you're not adaptable, but on the other hand, you didn't have to be. So maybe you do need to go out and go to another country like a Vietnam and see what it's like.
Think of the saying, I won't be able to quote it perfectly, but Bruce Lee said you have to be like water.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Water rolling down a stream and there's a rock, you flow around it. You don't hit it head on and try to knock it over.
That's right. Avert. We live in a society or a culture that we believe this is how it's run, especially in the Western culture. Canada, US, Australia, UK, what have you. And so we believe that to be right and to be correct. If you want to escape that matrix, if you want to escape being a slave to that way of life, or you want to open your eyes to something different, then come to Vietnam, come to another developing country.
If you want to find out who you are, like if you grow up in a paradigm and everything's a certain way, and you go to a completely different paradigm, you'll find that some of the things that you believe in your old paradigm kind of fall away, and other things you keep with them. They're like fundamental values you have or fundamental beliefs. And what's interesting is I find a lot of time when I move from culture to culture, the fundamental things about me remain, and they flow through that culture into the new culture, and they survive. But some of the stuff falls away because it's so specific about that culture, and it doesn't really always make sense in other places. And that's kind of like the whole water thing, you know. You just flow around stuff that.
Right. And what you thought you valued, when you went, I don't really value that as much as I thought. And what you didn't value, maybe, and you're like, oh, that's a high value for me. Or, but you don't know that until you leave. You can watch as many videos as you want. And granted, your videos are fantastic. But until you leave to experience that, you're not going to know.
Tell us about the name of your channel, how people find it, and what you like to talk about.
So my channel is called 𝐿𝐵. It's an acronym. The L is loving and living, A is adventure, the F is a bunch of things: food, fun, family, finances, freedom, fitness, T is travel, and EE is extraordinary experiences. And so I chose that channel just because the name of that, just because it's short and it encompasses some of the things that I like or enjoy. But my channel, it's evolving, but I want to cater to kind of like the financial aspect of travel and how important it is to get that in order. So I do a lot of apartment videos because when you're coming here as an expat, you need a place to live.
Yeah.
So I feature that a lot. Food costs is a big part of that. I feature that. I've discussed a little bit about geo arbitrage in one of my channels, but I need to go into that a little bit more. And I want to talk about behavioral economics as it relates to travel and the decisions we make and why we make those decisions. Thanks,
so much.
man. By the way, one more thing to say.
Yeah.
This is the GOAT, okay? This is the GOAT.